And we are off. We've done it. We've done it. Not gonna lie to you guys. We're gonna get this one started. I really don't want to do this one today. Like, I know that's kind of shitty to say out loud, but it's the truth. Like, boy howdy. It's just like staring into, like, a crazy, absurdist, like, vat of nonsense. Kind of amazed anybody shows up to watch me do it. like, we're starting to get, actually and legitimately, we're starting to get like memes like this, you know, just like the kids are starting to realize that, like, oh yeah, this is all fucked up, this is not okay. I've been saying it for a long time, like, kids should walk out of their schools. Like, we don't have anything to teach you. Like, we've got nothing to teach you, obviously. We don't know how to prevent a genocide. We don't know what to do to prevent any of this kind of stuff. I saw a post from somebody saying, well, now that Canada has voted for a ceasefire, right? Sure, it didn't happen, but Canada voted for a ceasefire, so we can stop applying pressure now, right? There's all kinds of things that we can do still. Until we have literally divested from Israel, until we are straight up jailing people who are funding Israel at this stage, there's still more that we can do. Rusty, good to see. Good to see you. I'll admit, Rusty, I'm having a kind of a, like, I had like a big depression sleep last night. I woke up super late. And it's just like, oh well. Oh well. Like, things are, in my own personal life, things are fine, you know? Things are fine. My finances are in place. Like, the work is fine. Like, everything's fine. But it's just like knowing, feeling this energy, feeling this overwhelming, like, how do we even live with one another as citizens and as people, as Canadians, as Ontarians? Like, how do we even exist in the same space with one another when large sections of the society are genocidal maniacs? Like, how do we even find a place of how is there a middle ground? Where is the middle ground? Where can it be found? Because, like, whenever I look out into the society and whenever I look out into what's going on, it really does appear like about 30% of the society are lunatics. Like, and I'm not saying that hyperbolically. Like, they're just foaming at the mouth, cannot wait to eat babies, lunatics who genuinely believe that the solution to the problem is an ethnic cleansing. It's like, how do you actually find any solidarity with in a society that thinks this way? How can you possibly support anything the society has to say or whatever it thinks? How could you possibly believe that anything the society does has any validity or is valid at all when they're acting in this way? And it's just like, I don't know. Difficult doesn't seem to capture it, you know? Difficult doesn't seem to capture it. It's there's this just overwhelming sense of total senselessness that doesn't want to, that doesn't even want to resolve anything. That said, Content, good to see you. There are positive signs that exist. What was the one that I saw? I had it just in front of me. Yeah. President Biden's own staff is demanding a ceasefire. We'll see if the president of the United States or anybody is actually influenced by even their own staff members. I think that the only people who are influenced by anything now is just money, right? It's literally the people who are standing there with the money. And that's it. Like, since when have rich people cared what their servants thought? But it is hopeful to know that people who are so close to the heart of power, that guy, good to see you, are actually standing up and actually saying something about it in a public space. That's definitely a positive. We have ongoing protest going on. Of course, it's interesting because whenever I learn about the protests, it's not from what's called legacy media or even leftist sources anymore. It's the right. It's the right that will show you the protests, right? Breaking far-left anti-Israel protests are blocking a major intersection of downtown Ottawa. You can see several city buses stopped and police watching from the sidelines, and then deport Hamas, right? This is from Rebel News. Like, I'm not seeing this from leftist outlets. I'm not seeing this from legacy media. So the right wing is reporting on these protests with the idea that this is a reason why we should deport these people. I think the demands for ceasefire are currently cynical, very cynical. What makes you think so? What makes you think so? Because I would think that the cynical position would be simply saying nothing. To me, that would be the most cynical position. And of course they flat out lie. Like, I mean, like, if they're willing to lie about these sorts of things, you know, nearly half of the Israeli munitions dropped on Gaza are imprecise dumb bombs, U.S. intelligence estimate finds. They're just carpet bombing it. Like, they're just carpet bombing it. Right? Like, there's no defense anymore. Nobody can stand up and be like, oh, they're being very careful and discriminate. Like, what are you talking about? The United States itself, ostensibly Israel's largest ally, not even ostensibly, Israel's largest ally, they themselves are coming out with reports saying that, like, yeah, the Israelis are just bombing the shit out of this place. Right? Like, they're bombing hospitals, they're bombing schools, they're rounding people up, they're digging mass graves, they're blowing up apartment buildings, and the defense they have is, oh, Hamas is using human shields. Well, so what if they are? Like, so what if they are? Like, so fucking what? And then on top of all of that, anytime they try to create like a humanitarian corridor, anytime they create any kind of corridor that says, hey, Palestinians, you should go over here, this will be a safe zone for you, well, they bomb it. Like, it's wild to watch people actually stand up and defend this. There's a debate that's been going around between Alan Dershowitz and Norman Finkelstein. And it really makes me realize that, like, these genocidal maniacs have been around us this whole time. Like, Alan Dershowitz is a fucking nightmare Nazi. Like a crazed lunatic, foaming at the mouth, raving lunatic Nazi. And it's just getting obvious. Like, it's just gotten incredibly obvious. And you take a look back on like post 9/11 with the Bush administration. Like, these guys are just foaming at the mouth, raving lunatic Nazis who are just waiting for the moment to exterminate minority groups. And they're just waiting for the moment where they get to do it in public openly in front of everyone. And we all have to sort of pretend as though, what, this is civility, this is normal, this is how it's supposed to be, this is what happens in the society. Or crazy thought, these guys are Nazis, and we should call them as such. Oh, Cotton, yeah, YouTube with the censoring. That's what I love about the whole censorship thing. Isn't it interesting how, like, people can go to Congress and write books and talk widely about the censorship. We're against the woke people, and so we're gonna talk in Congress about how we're being censored by the woke mob. Meanwhile, the real day-to-day censorship that exists in our society is done through algorithm. It's just people being silenced on the day-to-day because they can't voice themselves and they can't voice their opinions. It won't be too much longer, guys. Like, it won't be. It won't be too much longer until channels like this one will be purged. It won't be too much longer because the Nazis want to continue their purges. The Nazis want to continue what they're doing, and it's not going to stop. Like, it's not going to stop. It's just going to ramp up. It's just going to get crazier. And, like, it is going to get crazier. Crazier is the word to use. Like, for goodness sakes, here's one that I'm seeing. Lucid Dream Startup says people can work in their sleep. A U.S. startup has said its headband device could allow people to work while sleeping. Prophetic's Halo device is designed to induce lucid dreaming, whereby the wearer becomes aware that they are asleep and able to control the experience. Prophetic describes the Halo as a non-invasive neurostimulation device that offers the ultimate sandbox for divergent problem solving. The only limiting factor, the company claims, is the wearer's imagination. It aims to use focused ultrasound signals to activate the dreaming state, which the company founder Eric Wohlman claims Wahlberg could then allow workers the chance to practice demos or perform creative problem solving for difficult tasks. Like, here's your capitalist innovation, guys. That this technology is not being pitched at us as an idea of, like, hey, here's a piece of technology that actually could expand the human consciousness. Here's a piece of technology that could actually allow you to engage in creative enterprise in a self-exploratory way, to discover what the nature of reality is and to discover what it is to be alive and to try to find a deeper connection to your own creative forces. No, solve problems for capitalists. Solve problems for capitalists. That's what this is for. Right? Like, how much longer until they just literally have us in a Matrix-style state? The company has already raised more than $1 million to develop the headband, is reportedly working with one of the designers of Elon Musk's Neuralink devices. Oh, good, so they'll kill a bunch of monkeys. Neuroscientists estimate that around 70% of people will experience lucid dreaming at least once in their lifetime, with recent research into phenomena focused on how to induce them. Yeah, good. Now that they've got Neuralink involved, I'm sure this thing will work out completely, totally. It'll be a completely usable, completely functional thing now that they've got the monkey killer organization involved in it. Yeah, this certainly isn't another grift, right? This certainly isn't just another way to sucker people into funneling their money into a dead end pursuit. No, I mean, the second I saw that Neuralink is involved, any Neuralink, any Elon Musk touchdown, it's like, oh, okay, so it's a grift, right? It's a grift, just like the Boring Company, just like SpaceX, just like Tesla, right? The thing is a grift, that they're just funneling money away from people into their own pockets while saying, yeah, we're definitely going to do this. This idea is definitely a thing that we're definitely for sure going to do. Definitely 100% definitely for sure. Yep. Here's another rocket that exploded. Here's another car that we had to recall. Here's another rocket that exploded. Like, these guys suck. Like, this is your capitalist innovation right here, right? We're gonna make a bunch of promises that we will not follow through on, and we'll just keep saying that we're definitely working on it. For sure. Yep, definitely working on it. Like, the SpaceX one is the most embarrassing one, if you ask me. Like, we literally put men on the moon and got them back to the Earth safely in the 60s. Like, with a government program. Using just straight up copying what the Soviets were doing. We straight up copied what the Soviets were doing, put men on the moon, and brought them back again. Right? And now we've got this private firm that can't get a rocket into space. And we're all like, this is the future of humanity. We're definitely going to Mars. For sure. 100%. Yup. That's happening. We're dumb. Like, we're dumb. We're a bunch of dim-witted morons. And, like, we're extra dim-witted because we've taken the most intelligent people in the society and we've given them over to this just king dimwit, Elon Musk, who is now going to get involved in, like, trying to make us work in our sleep. like what a fucking embarrassment. What a fucking embarrassment. Hail Tosis writes, I had a lucid dream where I was swimming and breathing underwater. I was aware I was dreaming and could change my location at will. It lasted maybe 60 seconds. How can you extract value from that? I failed to see the economic benefit. No, the economic benefit is convincing a bunch of old demented boomers to give you money to develop the technology. And it doesn't matter if the technology doesn't work. It's just the promise of the future, of the potential of the technology, right? That's how you get Peter Thiel to give you $100 million to support cryogenic technology, right? Yeah, we're definitely going to freeze Peter Thiel and then raise him back from the dead 200 years in the future. That's definitely going to happen. For sure. $100 million, please. Right? Like, it's just a series of grifts. Like, this whole thing is just convincing. It's just, you just kind of need to find out what the billionaire's fetish is. Right? Like, that's what's considered economic growth in the capitalist system. Figure out what the billionaire's fetish is. Figure out what it is that gets the billionaire hard. Right? And then be like, we're definitely gonna for sure do that thing that makes you hard. And the billionaire will be like, ooh, that's exciting. The thing that makes me hard. Oh, yeah, we'll definitely be doing that for sure. Here's $1 billion. Wow, thanks, billionaire guy. We'll get back to you in 10 years. For sure this is a real thing. For sure. 10 years go by. They manufacture some shitty thing that blows up every time they try to use it. It barely delivers on even the promise of the promise of the promise. And they're like, well, you know what we need? We need another $1 billion to make it work. And the billionaire goes, oh, another $1 billion? Okay, because it gets me so hard. Okay, see you in 10 years. And this is the grift. Like, this is the grift. Like, this is essentially what the American economy looks like now, right? We're just convincing billionaires get the most hard for people who get hard for billionaires. Yeah, so you create like a little stupid feedback loop. Radio, good to see you, my man. Good to see you. So it's just like this dumb feedback loop that feeds on itself. That's so stupid. Isaac writes, Obrador just announced the implementation of universal health care plan for Mexico. He's also the first president to give a pension to the disabled. Like, it's getting real pathetic for us, eh? Obrador implements universal health care. Obrador. Hold on. It's going to be Mexico. I mean, they did that in 2012, apparently. This Lucid Dream article? Yeah, I'm already riffing on it. Like, this absolute fail idea, this total nonsense. It's just look, like, even if they do it, which they won't, right? Even if they do it, which they won't, all it is just a way to siphon money away from the billionaires and hopefully catch a piece of it, right? This is where I'm landing with this. Like, everything is literally just walking up to the guy who has all the money and being like, "What's your fetish? How can we get money away from the guy who has this like creepy little weird fetish?" Like, that's it. That's all it is. And like, will they deliver? Obviously not. They're not going to deliver. Yeah, and of course Haltosis points out that like, oh, they want you to write code in your sleep. I get it. That sounds dumb. AI can write code faster. Yeah, 11% of United States citizens have no health coverage. Nothing. Meanwhile, Mexico, like, and you know how they do it? You know why they do it? You know what the good reason for doing it is? Because it's cheaper. Because it's cheaper. Mexico achieves universal health coverages, enrolls 52.6 million people in less than a decade. This happened in 2012. Like, this happened in 2012, for God's sakes. Like 10 years ago. Like, poor nations, nations that do not have the economics backing, although the economic backing of the United States is just convincing billionaires to do like lucid dream helmets and like shoot rockets at space and stuff. Yeah, if that's the way they were talking about it, that guy, I would be less harsh on it. If they were like, "Hey, here's a cool idea. Right? Put this helmet on, have a lucid dream, right? Have like a wonky kind of experience, right?" If that's the way they were talking about it, I'd be like, "Oh, okay, cool." Like, I'm actually kind of in favor of this idea. That's interesting. Interesting idea. That's not how they're pitching it. Lucid Dream Startup says people can work in their sleep. Do not give money to these people. Do not give money to people whose objectives are to make you work harder and to make you work in your fucking sleep. Like, get the fuck out of here forever. Eternally and forever. Do not give these people money. Right? Give money to people who are saying like, "Oh, hey, we could make a lucid dreaming device." Yeah, so that you could, have a really interesting lucid dream experience to like explore the boundaries of human consciousness and to experience what it is like to be aware while dreaming. Right? Isn't that interesting and creative and fun and could be even enlightening? Wouldn't that be interesting? No, do work. Work is what we're doing this stuff for. The only thing that has value is work for capitalists. That's what it is. Like, what a brain dead society we have. So brain dead, and it's like so obvious that we're brain dead. Like, here's Mexico, just south of the border, right? Achieving universal health care coverage 10 years ago. America just can't get their shit together. Yeah, and Halitosis writes, I'm convinced that racism is a big part of the issues that hold the U.S. back. Yeah, they just don't want to help black people. Like, yeah. Yeah, it's just trying to make you experience 100 years in 1 minute or something like that to serve punishment for crimes. Yeah, we all saw that episode of Deep Space Nine. That was a good episode. Not gonna lie. Like, this is becoming like the cartoonish reality of the situation, right? Like this more Iron Man suits. You give me now. What happened to the 80,000 suits I already gave you? Fall off truck. Hold on, hot booty, call on the line. Bibby baby. How you digging the new Hamas Buster? I love it, Tony. The best feature is how I could use repulsors to burn children off my feet. Like, what's comedy gonna look like, man? What's the next generation of comedy actually gonna look like? You know, like it's just gonna be gross. Feels like it's just gonna be gross. You know, America is the most propagandized country in history because everyone hates their boss, hates their job, thinks the government is completely in the pocket of big business, and yet everyone still claims to love capitalism. Yeah, existential comics, man. Always nailing it. Like, always nailing it. Like, it blows me away that anyone is still defending this system of capital. Like, it blows me away that there's anyone who even has the audacity, right? Like, I can understand, like, secretly in your vampiric dark heart thinking this way. Uh, uh, but, like, to actually voice it, to actually just admit out loud in front of everyone that you're a vampiric ghoul who despises life itself. Like, it's wild. Yeah, capitalism is when joyous misery. Yeah. Yeah, anti-capitalism should be a winning message. Yeah. It's like, the system's indefensible at this point. It's literally generating genocides. It's literally generating poverty, despair and destruction everywhere. And all it's doing is taking credit for the success of communist nations. Like, and any positive that actually occurs in the society, it tries to pretend as though it's because of capitalism, and meanwhile they're like mass protests, enormous revolutionary energy. That shows you how great capitalism is as a system. While we try to make you work in your dreams. Here's what's actually happening. Google is building multiple massive developments with 9,000 homes. Facebook is building a development known as Zucktown with over 1,700 homes. Elon Musk is laying the groundwork for a town called Snailbrook on thousands of acres. We're entering a new era of company towns. This is what's actually happening in America. This is what's actually gonna go down. That the greatness of capitalism and the capitalist innovation and all this garbage that we've just been shoveled in our face for decades and decades, it's going to result in all of these psycho billionaires building their own little culty communities, surrounding themselves with yes men who jerk them off wherever they want, wherever they go. And if you don't like it, then you can go fuck off and die in the streets. Content writes, in reference to Lucid Dream Startup says people can work in their sleep. Quantum writes, for once, I'll be able to have my dream job. You did it, Quantum. You did it. Well done. Well done. I actually think that that's the best joke that you can write. I think that you did it. Like put that on any late night show. You're off to the races. This one's from Dimitri Lascaris. Canada's pro-Israel lobby goes bananas after Trudeau tosses a crumb at Palestinians. So, the news here is that Canada actually voted in favor of a ceasefire. They didn't vote against it. Showing you that it is actually possible to move the needle ever so slightly. Yesterday, Canada's pro-Israel lobby went bananas after the Trudeau government tossed a crumb to the Palestinian people. For the second time in 2 months, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. The first of those resolutions called for an immediate and sustained humanitarian truce. The UNGA adopted the resolution on October 27, 2023, by a vote of 120 in favor to 14 against, with 45 abstentions. Canada abstained. Yesterday's UNGA resolution demands an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, and that all parties comply with their obligations under international law, including the international humanitarian law, notably with regard to the protection of civilians. It was adopted by a vote of 153 in favor to 10 against, with 23 abstentions. This time, Canada voted in favor of the resolution. Predictably, Israel and its primary enabler, the United States, voted against yesterday's ceasefire resolution. The remaining 8 states that voted against the resolution were tiny, U.S.-dominated states. Their collective population is less than 75 million, or 1% of the human population. Despite this, Genocide Joe Biden claimed that most of the world still supports Israel. The lobby goes bananas. When news broke that the Trudeau government had voted for a ceasefire resolution, Canada's pro-Israel lobby descended into hysteria. The Centre for Israel and Jewish Affairs thundered that it was disgusted and frankly shocked by this hypocritical act. The Vice President Jamie Kersner-Roberts condemned Canada's vote as pathetic. Nico Slobinski, another vice president, said he was horrified. So it sounds good that Nazis are horrified. I love it when Nazis lose their mind like this. Michael Moistin, the CEO of B'nai Birth Canada, so the real Nazis, described Canada's vote as shameful and claimed that Trudeau's government finally caved to pressure by the usual anti-Nazi anti-Israel suspects. Yep. So the Nazi rhetoric and the Nazi position is beginning to fall apart, right? Michael Levitt, the CEO of Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center, professed to be appalled by the decision of a prime minister under whom Levitt recently served as a Liberal member of Parliament. When looked at in their horrifying context, these bitter denunciations are beyond the pale. Yeah, they're Nazis. I don't know what you need. In little more than 2 months, Israel has massacred more than 10,000 infants and children in Gaza. The total death toll of its genocidal onslaught exceeds 23,000. By contrast, the total civilian death toll in Ukraine surpassed 10,000 last month, some 22 months after Russia's invasion of Ukraine began. CIJA, B'nai Birth, and FSWC have all declared their solidarity with Ukraine. Nazis know Nazis, right? Moreover, in Israel's war on Gaza, 1.9 million Palestinians, more than 85% of Gaza's population, have been displaced. Following Israel's sadistic decision to deprive Gazans of food and water, many of them are starving. Infectious disease are spreading across Gaza at a time when its health system, due to incessant Israeli assaults, has collapsed. In Gaza, Israeli forces have assassinated more than 60 journalists and media workers, 250 medical workers, and more than 130 staffers of the UN Relief Works Agency. Israel's military has damaged or destroyed hospitals, mosques, churches, and UN-operated schools, where displaced civilians were sheltering. It has paraded half-naked, shackled men with Abu Ghraib levels of conspicuous depravity. Israeli soldiers have left Palestine newborns to die and decompose after their incubators cease to function. How is this not Nazism? If you support these monstrosities, then you're not only a person of the lowest moral character, you're also a genocidal racist. Period. What Trudeau has done is not nearly enough. Under the circumstances, what the Trudeau government did yesterday was the minimally decent thing. It joined, belatedly, with the overwhelming majority of humanity to call for an end to the slaughter and for desperately needed humanitarian relief. Moreover, it did this in the UNGA, whose resolutions are not enforceable and are only of persuasive effect. Meanwhile, there is far more that the Trudeau government can and should do. Trudeau's government should impose an arms embargo or other sanctions on Israel and its leaders. It could expel Israeli diplomats from Canada. It could call for international tribunals to hold Israel's leaders accountable. The Trudeau government has done none of these things. On the contrary, the Trudeau government recently opposed a request from the UNGA to the International Court of Justice that the court render an advisory opinion on potential Israeli war crimes. Even worse, after Israel's latest assault on Gaza began, the Trudeau government voted against several UNGA resolutions calling on Israel to respect international law. Despite all of this, the Israeli the Israeli lobby is hopping mad. For the genocidal racists who now dominate Canada's pro-Israel lobby, Trudeau's countless and unconscionable concessions to Israel's apartheid regime do not suffice. The lobby demands total, unqualified subservience to Israel's agenda. The slightest departure from Israel's agenda provokes their howls of indignation. The Palestinian solidarity movement must not allow itself to be distracted by these histrionics. Despite yesterday's UNGA vote, the Trudeau government's response to the Gaza genocide remains a national disgrace. For too long, Canada's Palestinian solidarity movement has been conditioned to be thankful for the crumbs the Canadian politicians occasionally toss at the Palestinian people. There's nothing to be thankful for here. Canada's government remains deeply complicit in Israel's unspeakable crimes. It will take far more than this one United Nations vote to bring Trudeau's complicity to an end. Today I discuss these developments with Yves Angler. You can watch and listen here. Genocide Joe has got to go. Yeah. But did those newborns condemn Hamas? That's the real truth. That's really truth. Annan, good to see you. I have good news. Left-wing activist, socialist, and author of several books, Boris Kagarlitsky, accused for nothing, was released with a fine after 6 months in court. Although the prosecution requested 5 years in prison. I don't actually know this story, my man. Can you illuminate? Yeah, I love it. Do you condemn Hamas? Right? Like Hamas. Yeah, how dare people fight back, right? Like how dare people who are under siege by like a genocidal Nazi government? Yeah, how dare they fight back? That's the real the people who fight back against genocidal maniacs. Those are the real problem. Like, I really should just start writing this script. Like, straight up, like, we're living in a town where, like, Jason Voorhees is walking around with a machete, just openly slaughtering people, right? And everybody's just acting like it's totally normal. And then if somebody tries to fight back against Jason Voorhees, everybody goes, "Oh my goodness! Oh wow, what an incredibly aggressive act of violence." Like, it's just stupid. Like, it's just stupid. And the only rational, like, the only position that I can take, because it's the only thing that makes any sense, is that the reason why people are standing up in support of Israel is because they're crazy. It's because they're vampires. Because they're literally sitting there being like, "Oh, good, we get to murder people. Yay, murder! Hooray! I get off on people suffering. That's my kink. Watching people suffer." It's like the only thing that makes any sense. Like you've got a people trapped in an open air prison. You've had them trapped there for a decade. They're literally like voting age people who all they've ever known, the only thing they've ever known is living in this open air prison. They were born in an open air prison. It's the only thing they've ever experienced in their life. And your problem is that they're fighting back. And my favorite thing is when they say, if Hamas surrendered, then there would be peace. It's like, yeah, I'm sure their eradication, you would prefer it if they were eradicated silently. I'm sure you would prefer if they just died quietly, right? That would be the preference. Like, Canada could be pushing forward on a divestment, sanctions, and a boycott regime, right? The BDS movement. We could be pushing forward on that. We could be expelling our diplomats. We could be explicitly saying to the rest of the world that we are not going to be trading with Israel. We're certainly not going to be funding them, right? And we could be saying to our allies that we aren't going to participate in trade with countries that do so. That we are going to withdraw our support for this. Like, these are the things that we could actually do. That we should stop pretending as though there's nothing that can be done. Right? There's lots that can be done. There's plenty that can be done. But what the Nazis in our midst, right? What they need us to do is they just need us to be complicit and silent. That's all they need. That as long as we just stand by and do nothing, or go, oh dear, goodness me, well, what can be done? Oh well, right? What can be done? We could surround the halls of power. What could be done? We could literally shut the country down. That guy writes, I have former friends who have a clothing shop. They're selling shirts saying, believe Israeli women too, bring them home. Yeah, literal war profiteering and implicitly condoning genocide. So yeah, like, there are Nazis around us everywhere, right? No, they're not otherwise lovely people. They're frauds and phonies. They play at being nice, right? They understand that smiling and going along with you and being like, haha, oh yeah, okay, ha ha ha, is a good social strategy, right? Like liberals do, they try to gain your favor before driving a knife into your back, right? But they're not lovely people. Like, they're not. And this sort of like head tilting sympathy that people tend to give these genocidal maniacs while they're war profiteering off of a genocide. Demand better world. How you doing, bud? Uh, it's like the pretend niceness too, you know? Like when I go out and I work in my capitalist job, I've got to like pretend to be nice to these people. It's like, yeah, like not that long ago, Christia Freeland came into my job, right? And I like had to serve her and like give her a stupid latte or whatever, right? Give her good service. When really I should have just been like, get the fuck out of here. We don't need genocidal maniacs in here. Get the fuck out. but uh, 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 can't risk losing my employment. Commie economist. I don't know if I've ever seen you here before. Communism has historically been great at reducing poverty, hunger, and the other bad things capitalists like to keep around to discipline the workers. Yeah, that just nails it. That just nails it. Planet X 2106. Are you saying the Israeli women lied about being raped? Are you saying that lying liars lied about lying all the time? Yes. Show me your evidence. What's your evidence? We already know that the Israelis hire actors. We already know. Like, we already know that they're hiring actors. We already know that they're bullshitting us. We already know that they're liars. I have no reason to believe these Nazis. Do you understand? I have no reason to believe Nazis while they are committing a genocide. Do you understand? If you continue to defend Nazis in the chat, I will ban you immediately. Do not defend Nazis. I can't with the vote blue no matter who, folks. Yeah, absolutely. That's what's so devastating to our community. We should be supporting each other against real anti-Semitism. Instead, they're pro-genocide without any irony. Yeah, these are family and friends. Yeah, they don't give a fuck. They want money. They want money, and they're happy to sell items to Nazis. Like, that's very, very simple. Right? Very simple, very straightforward stuff. Like, oh, there are Nazis with money and the Nazis want to wear Nazi paraphernalia. Okay, well, I'll make some Nazi paraphernalia and that'll make me some money because I don't care. Right? I'm either a Nazi myself or I just don't give a shit. So I'm a liberal. Right? I do got to talk about this. We got somebody in here. Are you saying the Israeli women lied about being raped? Yes. Like, holy shit. How dim-witted are we? They're literally committing a genocide. They're literally committing a genocide. They're literally committing a genocide in the borders of their own country, carpet bombing the country, rounding up and executing people, throwing them into mass graves, including children. Oh, but they would never lie. They would never. Nope, they would never. These people are the stand-up holders of all things that are truthful. Absolutely. They would never go beyond the pale and tell a lie. Like, how fucking embarrassing are we? What an embarrassing, ridiculous, stupid way to think. Yeah, they'll just carpet bomb Gaza, but they would never lie about it. Like, this is like we're as dim-witted as it gets. Rachel Graham says, I can't believe you were able to hold it together and serve that woman the strength. Yeah, I mean, I'm a professional. God damn it. I'm a professional. But they don't even see it. What the fuck? Yeah, because it's just money. That's all. It's just money. Like, oh, people want this that says this thing. Oh, okay, money. Then money. So we'll do the money thing. Like, what's so funny is, like, we have literally no reason to believe Israelis. Like, what are you talking about? Like it'd be like saying that you should believe Nazi women. You really should believe Nazi women. When the Nazis said that they were socialists, that was true, right? We should definitely believe that. Like, we're just a gullible bunch of rubes. And it's really obvious that we're just a bunch of gullible rubes. It's throughout the entire society. Right? To believe Israeli women, too, is the same as releasing the hostages. even if true, it's the weakest non sequitur to justify genocide. Yeah. Like, but look, they don't care. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. They don't care. To them, it's just another world event. It's just another way to make some money. What's the zeitgeist going on today? Oh, it's going on about this genocide thing. Oh, well, there's a bunch of genocidal maniacs with money. Well, I've got some genocidal maniac paraphernalia to sell them. Right? Like, it doesn't matter to them. They don't care. Like, they don't care. They're not going to take a moral position because they're not moral people. They're not lovely people. They just know how to pretend being lovely. They just know how to smile right. Like, that's it. Right? They're salesmen. They're not actually, they don't actually have a moral center or a moral conscience. Like, ugh. Yeah, and it's this, but it's the same narrative for these. Like, I'm pretty sure that guy's gone now. Because he came in and was like, "You're saying they lied?" And I was like, "Yes, of course they lied. What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Oh," and left. That's what happened. I can't believe people would say that lying liars lied. Oh my God. I can't believe that he said that a group of people who have done nothing but fraudulently lie while committing a mass genocide would also lie about this. Oh. Like, we're dimwits, man. Like, we're very dumb. We're very, very dumb. We'll believe anything, man. Like, we'll believe anything. There's this great scene in Deep Space Nine where Quark, they're talking about human history, and they're talking about the nuclear bombardment of Hiroshima or something like that. And Quark says they set off a thermonuclear device in an enclosed atmosphere. I could have sold these people anything. And that's kind of the truth of it. Like, you could sell these people anything. Like, you can sell us anything. We are an extremely gullible people. We'll believe anything. And it doesn't even need to make any sense. Isaac, they can't handle you can't handle the truth. Apparently, Jack Nicholson, when they were shooting that scene in A Few Good Men, he was asked, "Do you want to do your shots first, and then we'll do everybody else's shots after?" And he said, no, do everybody else's shots first, and then do mine last. And everybody sort of expected him to, like, phone in his performance, so that they'll just get the other people's shots, and then he would, like, really do his performance when it was time for him to do his performance. But apparently, like, from shot one, he was, like, at that level, like, you can't handle the truth, like that kind of, like, huge level of thing. And he did it, like, a couple of times, and the director comes up to him and is like, "Hey Jack, like, you still have to shoot yours, like, do you maybe want to save, like, a little bit of energy?" And Jack Nicholson goes, "I don't get to do this very often, and so when I do, I like to do it." And then they shot his scene, and it was, like, exactly the same. He was at the same level of energy, good to go. So that's a very generous actor. That's a very generous thing to do, because it gives you really good performances. Is what it does. It gives the other people something to really, really work off of and work on. That, like, would Tom Cruise's performance in that scene been as good without Jack Nicholson's energy, right? They can't handle the truth. Like, Like, people have to believe that we're the good guys, eh? Like, I think that there is, like, if I wanted to take a more sympathetic track, if I wanted to, I think that there are people who just, like, they have to be on the side of good. Like, they have to believe that they're the good guys. And in the face of all the evidence to the contrary. Vanity, maybe. Like, I just think that there are people who, if they understood that they were on, like, the side of a dark empire, it would actually break their consciousness. I think that it would smash them to just understand. Like, there are people in the fictional universe of Star Wars, there were people who were being led by Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader who thought that they were good, right? That thought that they were doing spreading order in the universe and making things more stable for everybody, right? There are people who think that they're the good guys. And if they suddenly were to realize that no, they're the Nazis, right? Like, they're obviously the objective evil of what's happening in the universe, that it would actually, like, smash them. And it would render them incapable of participating and continuing. Like, I think that that's where the stakes are for a lot of people. Oh yeah, of course. We all used to be something, right? We all used to come from somewhere. And, like, the there was a brief moment when liberalism made a type of sense, but, like, it's obviously revealed its hand. Like, you can't continue. Like, you can't continue. Not with what's actually going on. Especially when you're seeing how weak these liberals actually end up being, right? Pharmaceutical bill to be tabled by March 2024, liberals and NDP confirm. So, like, literally the day before the election, straight up dangling, like, and they're both doing it. They're both doing this thing that they always have done and will continue to do. Oh, you better vote for us. We just tabled a pharmacare bill, everybody. Look, we did it. We tabled the pharmacare bill. It happened. Look, we put it on the table. Better vote for us. They're both doing it. Yeah, they're losers. Like, these guys suck. and look at the look on Singh's face. He's got this look on his face that's basically like, "Yep, we're doing it to you." Trudeau might as well be, like, singing here about how fucking gleeful he is to be fucking us over again. Isaac writes, fuel prices in Argentina soar a further 37% after devaluation of peso. Argentina reacts to Milley's shock measure with steep price hike. Yeah. Like, and? Like, we knew that was going to happen, dude. Like, our Argentina is going to become, like, just a total shithole, right? Like, very, very quickly. And we're seeing how quickly it's going to be. It's going to be so fast, right? Like, it's going to be so fast. The, if you get rid of any regulation against capital, then capital becomes a revolutionary force, right? Like, especially if it's like fuel, like if it's stuff people need, right? Oh, there's no regulation or price control or anything on how much fuel costs. Oh, okay, then I'm gonna set fuel at $1 billion a drop. Can't pay it, then starve. Like, that's what's gonna happen. They're just going to throttle the shit out of people. They're just going to strangle them to death. We're going to go ahead and put you on a timeout. You can come back when you're willing to talk to people. Let's do 30 minutes. Basic human politeness, thanks, bud. Don't need to be dealing with people who are so dim-witted that they don't know how to talk to people properly. Right? If you have questions or comments or concerns or queries, you can ask them. But if you're just going to be a moron, then get the fuck out of here. Yeah, so Argentina is just going to continue collapsing. Right? And it's just going to get more dramatic. It's just going to get way more dramatic. And this is what they like voted for. That's the thing that's so great. I'm so interested to see how the libertarians are going to try to spin this when Millie fucks everything. They're just not going to talk about it. They're just not going to talk about it. It's just not going to come up in conversation. They're just not going to discuss it. And if you do say something like, well, you've noticed how Argentina, right? Argentina's enacted all the policies that you want to enact, and it's a disaster. Then it's, well, Venezuela is a disaster, right? That's all they'll do. It'll just be deflection, right? And they'll try to make you defend your stuff, right? They'll make it so that they'll always want you to be on the defensive. They'll always want you to be defending your position. And if you point out like the obvious failures of their system, it'll just be deflection. They don't actually have defenses any longer, right? They don't actually have, like, the best we get are people like this blacklight lifestyle moron who comes in and says this dumb shit, right? Like, they're not coherent or intelligent, and they don't have intelligent thoughts anymore, right? Like, their leaders are people like Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder, right? Like, they're not capable of intellectual discourse anymore. Maybe he'll have not done anarcho-capitalism enough. He just didn't commit to it enough. Yeah, that's what it is. That is actually probably what it will be. It probably will straight up be like it probably will straight up be that they'll just be like, yeah, they didn't commit. He didn't commit hard enough to selling out the country to capitalists hard enough. Like, I genuinely think it's not going to be until like a nuclear reactor goes off in their state. You know, that's what it's going to take, I think, for a lot of these people, is that it's going to take like a personal disaster dramatically. Did you see Milley trying to reestablish ties with China on his first day, right after he was spitting anti-China shit? Yeah, because Milley has no principles, right? He like all capitalists, he has no moral center or moral core. He's an opportunist exclusively, and so he's going to say what he's going to say in order to garner political support within his own country, and then he's going to turn around and do what's right for him, right? And that's going to be trying to establish ties with China so that he can make money for himself personally. Like, that's all this is. That's all he's doing, is he's trying to make money for himself personally. And so he's going to try to get power within his own society by shitting on China. And then he'll turn around to China and say, hey, I've got a deal for you. Right? And China will probably take that deal. Because given the situation that Argentina finds itself in, it's probably going to be a good deal for China. It'll be a shitty deal for Argentina. Right? It'll be a good deal for Milley. It'll be a good deal for China. And it'll be a shitty deal for the people of Argentina. Right? Because that's fundamentally what the system of capital is about. It's about enslaving people so a small, tiny cabal can make a whole lot of money for themselves. Right? That's the system of capital in a nutshell. And so, yeah, of course he's going to try to reestablish ties with China. Because he doesn't have any principles. Like, I love it. It will get worse over the next 10 to 5 years. What to expect from Canada's labor market as the workforce ages. Right underneath that, truck. Buy trucks. Big truck. Get your truck on with the truck. There will likely be more Canadians leaving the workforce than entering it over the next few decades as the country's senior population grows, according to the new data from Stats Canada. Experts say this will not only exacerbate existing labor shortages, but could result in higher wages for employees. As of November 2023, there were approximately 2.7 million Canadians aged 15 to 24 who said they were employed, compared to more than 4.4 million people aged 55 and older who had a job. This is based on data from Stats Canada's latest labor force survey, which also shows a wide difference in the total population of Canadians 15 to 24 years of age compared to those 55 years and older, with 4.7 million and 12.4 million people respectively. Manage your insurance online with Desjardins, blah, blah, blah. Do a thing that should be abolished completely. But privatized insurance is a scam. This means there are potentially more people prepared to leave the labor force because of retirement than there are entrants to replace these workers, reads a note prepared by Jane Battitz, senior advisor at Everonics a marketing and analytical service company owned by Bell Canada. Bell, let's talk. Mental health, we care. Here, by the way, we're funding a genocide. This comes amid new statistics from analytics that shows Canada's senior population is projected to surpass 11 million by 2043. Don't worry, there'll be like another COVID thing, and it'll just like go through, absolutely blow everybody up. It'll be great. The data, based on a special analysis for CTV News, paints the senior population as the fastest growing age group in the country. So if there's a labor shortage, why aren't we asking for higher wages? Right? Like, if it's supply and demand and there's a labor shortage, yeah, guilt-tripping people for wanting to retire, yeah. It's almost as though the system of capital is a complete and total failure and a farce, and we should do away with it. Canada's already facing labor shortages across several sectors, largely due to the country's aging population, said Stephen Tapp, chief economist in the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Over the next few years, more Canadians born between 1946 and 1964, also known as the baby boomer generation, will be entering their senior years and likely retiring. Without a boost in the number of young Canadians entering the workforce, existing labor gaps will only become larger, Tapp said. We're in a more labor-scarce world, so wages should be going up, right? If we're in a more labor-scarce world, wages should be going up, right, to compensate, right? That's happening, right? Oh, interesting. Things are getting tighter and more difficult. It will be worse over the next 10 to 15 years. Businesses of all sizes and across every industry have complained of labor shortages for months, with experts saying Canada's aging workforce is among the factors to blame. These shortages could lead to a reduction in labor inputs as well as economic growth, a recent study shows. I'm gonna say it as cleanly as I can. I'm not interested in working for a class of psychopaths. Like, 0% interest. I'm going to do the barest possible minimum that I can do to get through this reality, right? As cleanly as possible, with the best results for myself as possible. And I'm not going to do one iota of work more. Because you people are rapacious lunatic psychopaths who are doing things like funding genocides, right? Or just straight up destroying the planet. Right? You're either going after the oil and gas underneath Palestine, or you're just straight up destroying the planet through climate change. Right? And guess what? I'm not going to participate. And I'm not the only one. I'm not interested in participating in your crazy, lunatic, psychopath ambitions. I'm not interested in working for you. I'm not interested in putting my labor in. I'm not interested in paying for my own education so I can live in debt peonage so I have the pleasure for working for you for an extra $5 an hour or whatever, while you actively go to destroy the entire planet. Fuck you. I hope this economy collapses. I hope the country breaks apart. I hope this failed idea of Western capital smashes into the earth. And I hope you cry as loudly as you possibly can that nobody wants to work anymore. Yeah, for psychopaths. So fuck you. Fuck off. I hope your whole project fails. I hope you die poor. Yep. Supply and demand only gets mentioned when it benefits capital. Like, I don't understand why we should be giving these guys any credibility whatsoever. Can anybody help me out at all? Why should we even be working for these people? Like once you have your food and once you have your shelter, tell them to fuck off. Like, fucking die. I hope you die off. I hope this whole enterprise dies off. Like, it's so crazy how there's like this generalized like they're talking about this thing as if we have any loyalty any longer. Like, literally my entire life I was told that I was a disposable piece of shit that they could throw aside at any moment. And that was just like the assumed general thing. Yeah, we could just discard you at any moment. And now suddenly they can't do that and they're moaning about it. Tough fucking shit. Tough fucking shit. Fuck off. I hope McDonald's goes under. What are you talking about? Yeah, the labor shortages have direct implication for patient outcomes as the broader economy. Yeah, fuck off. I don't care. Give me one reason to give a shit. Like, you people don't give a shit. Like, you don't care at all. Even a little tiny bit. Unless it hits your pocketbook. If it hits your pocketbook, then suddenly it's everybody's problem. Right? But if it's people dying in the streets, right? If it's literally committing a genocide, if it's the climate change apocalypse that you're all inflicting on us, well, that's an externality. That's somebody else's problem. But if it's my pocketbook, well, then it's everybody's problem. Just fucking... Just fuck off. Well, and also on top of it, like, requirements to get a good job that pays well are ridiculous, impossible for most people to fulfill. Yeah, and guess what? The good job doesn't even get a house anymore. Why should we do these jobs? Explain this to me. Why should I bother working for these quote unquote good jobs? I can't get a house, right? I could barely get like a savings account going on, right? The rent's through the roof. The prices are through the roof. Explain to me why I should bother putting in any amount of stress or any amount of difficulty at all to work any of these jobs at all, ever. Like, please explain it to me. What am I getting out of it? Because the answer, near as I can tell, is nothing. Like, I'm getting fucking nothing. That I'm better off just working for working the fewest hours I possibly can in the lowest stress position that I can find, right? Just trying to make it through in a little apartment. Like, please explain to me what it is that this system of capital is actually offering, so that I'll be encouraged to become like a manager in agriculture, even a janitor or a caretaker or a heavy duty cleaner, right? Like, please put forward your arguments. Give me one reason why I should bother putting my dick on the line at all, ever, for any reason whatsoever, while this society actively abandons me and tells me to fuck off. So, bottom line, go fuck yourself. I hope the project of capitalism fails. I hope that your bank accounts drain and you lose everything. I hope that the country breaks apart and falls apart. and that maybe what will rise from it is a culture that actually says, maybe people should be able to have houses. Maybe people should be able to live in communities. Maybe we shouldn't destroy the environment and the atmosphere. Maybe. Well, and until such time, I refuse to participate. And I hope it gives you nothing but stress and problems in your life. Yeah, Canada has been anti-labor since its inception. The Transnational Railroad only got completed because it was going over budget. They had to mass import cheap Chinese labor. Yeah, you can see similar trends happening again today. Well, the temporary workers, like the temporary foreign workers program, is a slave program. By the way, being over budget simply means less money for the capitalists, but they always spin it as the world being set on fire. Yeah, of course, because if it affects their bottom line, then it's everybody's problem, right? If you're homeless dying in the streets, that's a you problem. But if I made a penny less, then it's everybody's problem. John, you sound so lazy. That isn't the attitude of future billionaires. What a joke. Content says, Jesus wept. The amazing Psy-War online. Have you ever just considered how wild it is that the internet is actually a war zone of the mind? Content, you're getting too deep for us today, man. The internet is actually a war zone of the mind. Jesus Christ, Content. God, you coming in here with this, like, Twilight Zone, Outer World shit. Like, I can't handle that shit right now, Cotton. It's true, though. Like, it is true. The internet is a war zone of the mind for sure. DM writes on Twitch, capitalism needs to end abruptly. The sooner, the better. Baby boomers be damned. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to happen that way, right? People need to wake up and start anti-capitalism blockades by a general strike and truck blockades. Yeah. Like, yeah. That's essentially what I've been calling for on this channel the whole time. But the fascists amongst us, like the people who are willing to commit to genocides, right? They're not going to let that happen without enormous acts of violence, right? Like we saw what happened with the truckers. Like we saw what happened when they blocked that bridge. We saw the lengths that the capitalist death cult is willing to go to, right? Rounding people up, arresting people. Blocking people's bank accounts. Like we know exactly what they'll do. We already see this happening with here in Toronto. There's there was this pro-Palestinian group. I forget the name of it. That guy, maybe you can help me out with the name of it offhand. Like they had cops kicking in their doors and arresting them because they threw some washable paint and put some posters up. About Heather Reisman or whatever her fucking name is, the CEO of Indigo, who funds the genocide in Gaza, right? She should be in jail for it, but we don't jail people who fund genocides. Not here. Snake, good to see you. Well, work only as hard as you have to for capitalists. Have you seen the Outer Limits episode of the impending invasion of some aliens and the humans can't decode their message, so they launch all the nukes at the last second and they decode it? We want to be your friends. Yeah, and then we're all like, man, why won't the aliens talk to us? All this alien shit that's going on right now, I've been seeing it more and more, right? It's so obviously a grift. Like, it's so obviously just the system of capital being like, let's distract millions of people with alien shit. Like, I'm not going to believe that this alien thing is real until there's literally an alien in the room beside me filling out paperwork to see a doctor or something. Like, I am not interested at all in buying into this idea that aliens are real, you guys. For sure, this is a real thing. Let's spend all of our time speculating and discussing about the reality of aliens, when the real truth of the matter is that if aliens were real, like if aliens are real, like, and I ostensibly believe that aliens are real, like I think that there are alien species out there. There's no way they're fucking talking to us. There's a 0% chance they're actually even talking to us, right? We would be so beneath them. We would be so beneath their and they don't need anything from us. We're nothing but dangerous, right? They would absolutely not be discussing anything with us at all, ever. They would not be making first contact. They would not be reaching out to us. They would not be discussing things, right? They would not treat us as equals, because we're not. Like, so if aliens are out there, the reason why they don't make first contact with us is because of what we are, right? And if we were worth talking to, they would talk to us, but we're not. The more likely explanation of what's actually happening is that there's just some natural phenomenon in the earth that we don't know anything about, because we're very dim-witted, right? Have I said this before? Have I said this a bunch of times? I'm feeling like I'm having a real grumpy, aggressive day today, but it's the truth. We're too stupid and we're too dim-witted, and so instead of actually going, I bet you these sightings that we're seeing and I bet you this stuff that we're seeing are probably just natural phenomenon of the earth that we don't know anything about because we're too stupid and we don't actually investigate our own planet. We don't know anything about our own planet. We literally are just now starting to figure out that we're capable of blowing ourselves up, but through necromancy. Like, we're getting roasted by their John Oliver at this very moment. No, look, if an alien species is capable of the technology that is required to make it to this planet, and they also have the capability to actually decipher our language and actually begin communications with us, they do not care about us. We're not being roasted by them. They don't talk about us. We're not interesting to them. Like, in the same way that John Oliver would not do a big roast on an anthill in Oklahoma. Like, we are so behind them and so beyond even the barest giving a shit. They do not care about us even a tiny little bit, nor should they. That the only question any alien species would actually ask of humanity is, are we dangerous? Like, are they dangerous to us? And all you got to do is look at our media for 30 seconds to be like, well, they certainly want to be. They certainly view us as a very huge threat. They certainly get off on blowing us up. Like, Independence Day. Straight up, like literally every movie that involves aliens portrays the aliens as monsters to be slaughtered. Like, no alien species is going to even think about touching base with us. It's just straight up not going to happen. And again, the most likely explanation for all of these like recent sightings is that we've increased our technological profile enough that we're beginning to interact with likely natural phenomenon that exists on the planet that we're too stupid to realize. And we don't try to investigate this stuff because we're too dumb. Like, we don't investigate what's going on in the bottom of the ocean. We don't investigate what's going on in the atmosphere. We don't investigate what's going on because there's no money in it. And because there's no money in it, we don't do it. So we don't know anything about the planet. We don't know anything about its systems. We're barely aware. We're barely aware of the reality that we could possibly destroy ourselves through climate change. We have like a glimmering, barely aware level of consciousness on that, and it's only because it's a threat to us. So, inert, like inert things that aren't really interacting with us on the regular. Like, oh, I saw an object in my F-16 jet fighter. Must be an ancient alien civilization capable of interstellar travel. Or or it's probably some natural phenomenon that we're just keying into now and we're too stupid to investigate because there's no money in it. We don't care. Like the whole alien thing, in my perspective, is just us getting lost in our imaginative space and not actually saying like, okay, but like the most rational thing is actually that there's just some hitherto unobserved natural phenomenon. Just like there's going to be thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of natural phenomenon that we just don't know anything about. Like, which of these two do you actually think is more rational? Like, which of these two do you actually think is more likely? That an ancient alien civilization has traversed time and space itself and is wasting even 1 second fucking around with us, or there's just some natural phenomenon going on Earth that we don't know anything about and don't care to know anything about. Which of those two do you actually think makes the most sense? Because, like, my perspective is that if it's an alien, like, I'm not even going to come into the solar system. I'm going to observe it from afar, and I'm going to be like, oh, hey, there's a group of monkeys on that planet. What do they say about aliens? Oh, kill all aliens. Yeah, okay, we'll leave them alone. Yeah, they'll blow themselves up. It's fine. Like, just look at them. They're obviously going to blow themselves up. Like, right? Like, what could they possibly need from us? Like, why would they possibly be interested in us outside of just, like, a zoological, like, analytical perspective? And if that's what it is, they don't need to come into our atmosphere. They don't need to come down here. Right? Like, if they have the technology for interstellar space travel, right? If they've got the support systems in place to be able to do that, then they can just observe us. They can listen in on everything that we're saying. They can hear everything that we're saying. They can decipher everything that we're saying. They can watch all of our media. They can spy in on whatever's going on. They don't need to come down here. Like, we almost have the technology to be able to do all that shit. And we're fucking dumbass monkeys. Like, there's zero reason for these aliens to come on down here. Yeah, I saw a TikTok edit where someone legitimately thought we could take on aliens if they attacked. If an alien species capable of interstellar flight wanted to destroy us, they could, and it would be easy. And we would not be able to retaliate. Like, it would really be as simple as just removing our atmosphere. Story's over. Like, done. Like, they could for sure do it. It would happen very quickly. We wouldn't even know that it was happening until it was already over. How about the big flying chiclets that buzz airplanes at times? Yeah, but like, we don't, like, okay. We can all acknowledge, like, we've seen this footage. It's out there. Okay, there it is. What's the most likely thing? Ancient alien civilization coming in to buzz our planes. Or there's just some natural phenomenon or a natural species on the earth that we don't know anything about. Nor do we care to know anything about it. Because we're so focused on bombing Vietnam again or whatever. Like, it's this, like we are barely conscious. Like, that's the thing that I think we're leaping. Like, we've gotten to a point where we refuse to say it's the gods, right? where we're finally like, no, the gods aren't real. There is no Thor or Zeus, right? That's not a real thing. We kind of keep them around as like storytelling devices, but everybody kind of knows it, right? Nobody's willing to accept like Thor shot the lightning bolt as an actual explanation anymore, right? But aliens, yeah, we're aliens, yeah. So how is it any different? How is it any different that instead of saying Thor, Zeus, Brahma, or any of these ancient gods, now it's aliens. Yeah, it's an alien species that's coming down. The aliens are doing that thing to make sure that the aliens like, okay, well, it wasn't true when it was Thor, right? And it's probably not true now that it's aliens. And in all cases, it was always a natural phenomenon. It was always just like we just didn't understand the phenomenon. And at least previously we had the excuse that we didn't have the technological capacity or the infrastructure in place to be able to investigate it meaningfully. But now we do have all of that. We're just too stupid. And so we're just going to reach for the gods, inventing new gods, ancient alien species. Oh, look, an ancient civilization that straight up used to worship gods carved this in, so aliens are real. Like, my money is on a natural phenomenon that we don't know anything about, or a natural species that we don't know anything about, and we don't care. And we don't care. Because gods. Yeah, having a salary raise doesn't help because they also raise the price of everything else. Yeah, that's the other part of it. Like, why pursue any of this? Yeah, the alien studies are smoke and mirrors to distract us from something they are planning. Well, and also, like, given the level of technology we've reached, like the CGI and all of this kind of stuff, like, we can't trust anything they say. Like, we can't trust anything they say or anything they put forward or anything they do. Like, like, it's... There's no reason to believe any of it. Like, it seems to just really be itching us in that kind of like the gods are real kind of place. That everybody wants there to be some kind of mystical, magical thing, right? And then once it finally gets broken down into its basic components about what it is, it's actually a lot more mundane than you thought, right? That the wonder of the universe and the wondrousness of life itself is interesting, but we seem to really need more than that, or something different than that. We really seem to need gods. We really need gods, and if we don't get gods, then we seem to invent them. And there's just something about humanity that's just like the gods must be real. That we need a pantheon, that they need names, right? And if they're not gods, then we create like celebrity culture. So we have like Taylor Swift or all this, and we all pretend like she's important for whatever reason. And it's just like this human like demand, like it's that within the consciousness of humanity, within the zeitgeist of humanity. It just must be the case that there are gods. And if they're not gods, then they're going to be celebrities. And if they're not going to be celebrities, then they're going to be aliens. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's just a way to just... And of course, the power structure, as it always has, is going to keep us entranced and interested in these concepts. Because it means that we're not actually going to stand up and say... Hey, why are my wages so fucking low? Wait a minute. Why am I working for these assholes at all? Why are these people important even a little? Aren't these people just narcissistic psychopaths who are parasiting our entire society? And as long as we're not saying that, then they'll have us say whatever. Yeah, prototype tech. Like, there's all kinds of other explanations that are actually far more likely. Like the idea of like an alien civilization is just so fucking unlikely. Like, and I'm not saying that an alien civilization doesn't exist. That's not what I'm saying. My objection with the entire thing is and shall always remain that if an alien species did exist that was capable of the technology that it must have in order to even get here, it wouldn't care about us at all and would very wisely leave us alone. Hmm. Like, if the apex of our culture was literally like Star Trek, like back when it was good, and it was like about working with alien species and like trying to have conversations with alien species and trying to work out things with aliens as peers, right? Then I could see how the aliens would be like, oh, okay, these humans have got something going on. But that's not what's going on. We had that for like a glimmering, brief, fractional moment. But now even that has fallen away, and everything is just we are Borg and like dumbass like alien versus predator shit, right? Like aliens are presented in our media as a threat. But at the same time, I understand why people do it. Like, it's infinitely distractible, right? Like, who wants to pay attention to this shit, right? Who wants to spend their whole life like dealing with this nonsense garbage that's going on? Stats Canada excludes MAID from death tolls despite being the sixth highest cause. Like, who wants to spend their life looking at that? Better to just spend your life looking at aliens. Who wants to talk about the unrealized potential of Palestinian oil and gas reserves? Right? This was written in UNCTAD, right? August 2019. Oil and natural gas resources in the occupied Palestinian territory could generate hundreds of billions of dollars for development. It's like so heartbreaking. They're literally like, yeah, we could use the natural gas under Gaza and in the occupied territories, and that could help develop those territories. Not the plan. Not the plan. Not the plan. New discoveries of natural gas in the Levant Basin are the range of 122 trillion cubic foot, while recovery oil is estimated at 1.7 billion barrels. This offers an opportunity to distribute and share about $524 billion among the different parties in the region and promote peace and cooperation among the old belligerents, the study notes. These funds could finance socioeconomic development in the OPT as part of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. However, so far, the Palestinian people have been prohibited from exploiting the oil and gas reserves in their own land and water to meet their energy needs and generate fiscal and export revenues. Like, it's so heartbreaking to look back that even 4 years ago, 4 years ago, there was a group who was just like, hey, there's like oil and gas under there and we could use that. We could use that and everybody would prosper. And we could develop the region and everything would be completely fine. It'd be a path for peace. Come on, guys. As early as like 4 years ago. Like, there is no way that region is ever going to find a path for peace until there is like a serious truth and reconciliation moment. But the truth is that all of the polling data shows you that the Israeli people are more or less in favor of the genocide. But there's this narrative going around that's like, it's the classic, like, I support the Israelis, but I'm against the Israeli government. Well, the Israelis are in support of their government. That they support the genocide. That most of them think that what's going on in Gaza is fine. And a huge section of them, something like 30%, think that the war effort needs to ramp up. Like, this is a disaster, like a complete and total disaster. And it's very difficult for me to believe that it has to resolve in one of two ways. Way number one is the way of colonial power, right? They actually achieve their objectives and they just purge the region, right? Way number two is actually a path of truth and reconciliation, that the Netanyahu regime actually has to face some consequences for what it has done. Like, I don't think you can... I mean, I was about to say that, but I mean, that's exactly what George W. Bush did. Like, George W. Bush literally invaded a nation, murdered 1 million people, destroyed its infrastructure in front of all of us, and nothing happened, right? They wouldn't be there standing on occupied land if they weren't reprehensible individuals in the first place. I mean, that's true. Imagine being like a military person. And as always, I just find myself thinking, like, it's all so stupid. It's all so senseless. It's all so... There's... It's all for nothing. It's for nothing entirely. That no one gains anything. That we could turn this place into a real refuge. That people could spawn into this reality and just be told, hey, you've got food, you got shelter, the time that you have here is your own. Explore whatever it is you think you need to explore. Say whatever you think you need to say. Do whatever you think you need to do. Write down whatever you need to write down. Make music, make songs, make love. Just sleep, play, do whatever with the little bit of time that you have here before you move on to whatever is past this reality. But while you're here, we've made things as easy as possible for everyone. There's no need to fight. There's plenty to go around. Profit motive, what are you talking about? The only motive that a person should have should be what they find in their heart and what lives in their spirit as a human being. And arranging a society based on funny money we make in the first place, who would do that? What a silly idea. For what purpose? To turn life into a game? Why? To achieve what? To get what? To what end? For what purpose? That we could investigate the earth, discover what's underneath the oceans, find out what's going on around us, in the world around us. Learn more about the natural phenomena of our society. and actually begin exploring space and exploring the world around us, the universe around us, peacefully. We could do it. But instead, we've decided to pursue this very manic, very dark, very closed, small-minded pursuit. This absurdist idea that essentially says we should organize human life around money we printed for ourselves, and we should sacrifice everything that exists in reality for it. It seems like the dumbest thing that any species anywhere could do. That we're going to invent money and then destroy the atmosphere for it. Says grinning, humans seem to need enemies. So when people fight, it's mutual aid. It's just so dumb. Like, it's just so dumb. Yeah, I mean, meeting each other's needs for conflict. One would think that we could leave the nation out of it. Like, if you need to go have a fight, go to some like fucking UFC pit or something and have a fist fight, I guess. Like, if that's what you need, right? Maybe leave the nation out of it. I don't know, guys. It just seems like we're watching this absolute catastrophe unfold in front of us. I, for one, am no longer willing to be. Uh, I, for one, am no longer really willing to grieve about it. Like, I feel the negative energy. I feel it. And it does feel oppressive. And it feels, I mean, negative. It feels negative. Like, I don't want to be friends with people. I don't want to be nice to people. Even though I should be. But all I really feel is tired, you know? Like, I don't want to participate. I don't want to participate. That really, I just want to sleep. And let the time slip by. Just let the time slip by. And then one day I'll close my eyes. And the time will slip by. Snake, yeah, I feel you on that one, Snake. Like, it's more obvious now, eh? Like, back in, like, the 80s and the 90s when we were still in this, like, there was still an idea of a promise of a future. Like, sure, we were working hard, but there was still, like, a promise of something. None of that's true. So now you're just working for food and shelter. But the truth is that you are a slave. That we're wage slaves. That we work for capitalists to fulfill whatever dim-witted whim they have, while they actively pursue to destroy the entire planet. My roommate is not cooking anything at the moment. Made some chili the other day. Yeah, here's some crazy synchronicity. Just saw someone's username, humans are disappointing. Yep. And what's interesting about humanity is, like, it's the basics. You know? Like, we talk this really big game about humans and about what we're capable of and what we're possible and all that kind of stuff. But, like, we're really missing just the fundamentals. Like, the true basics of how to actually build a civilization. Like, food and shelter. Like, that's how you get the basics. Food and shelter. If your people aren't fed, if your people aren't housed, then you don't have a society. Then you can't really build anything, and you can't really get anywhere, and you can't really do anything. Like, and this to me seems extremely obvious. Right? Like, we don't actually have that many needs. That the universe, that reality has not said to us that we need that many needs. There aren't that many rules. Right? There are rules. But those rules aren't things like don't masturbate. You know, that childish garbage. The rules are things like you have to eat. You need to drink water. You have to sleep. You have to breathe air. Those are the actual rules of the universe. And there are others. If you burn carbon into your atmosphere, you'll capture UV radiation, and that'll burn this planet down. That's a rule. That's how it works. And we seem completely incapable. We're like caught up in believing like the most childish, ridiculous stuff that like God would actually give a shit if you had sex outside of marriage. Like, can you imagine being so reduced in your intellect? Like, I can see somebody who's like a teenager or maybe like early 20s falling for this kind of stuff. But once you get to be about 40, like, there's no reason for you to believe any of that. Like, what are you talking about? And the very people who are trying to convince us that these elusive quasi rules and laws that exist in magic books are the very same people who will say, "Oh, but you need to earn food and shelter." Yeah. No, it's right for the wealthy class and the asset holding class to withhold food and shelter in exchange for your labor. That's the correct thing to do. Yeah. By the way, I believe in a loving God. Oh, okay. Sure you do, champ. Like, the truth is that we've just been taken over by opportunistic Nazis. And these opportunistic Nazis are just going to become more opportunistic and more Nazi-ish. Right? That's where we're going. That's what's actually going to happen. That's how it's actually going to be. And it's tiring. It's tiring living in a country that you know you can't trust anymore. It's tiring being surrounded by a people who you know you can't trust. It's tiring living in a system that rewards the most reprehensible people in the society. It's tiring. That everyone is incentivized to betray one another. And everyone is incentivized to treat each other as a commodity. That there are no systems of support. There is no solidarity. That the closest we get to a system of solidarity is the MAID program. And I just want to withdraw from it, you know? I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to put my energy into it. I don't want to spend even a moment of my time encouraging it or pretending like it's okay. Because it isn't. And it's getting obvious that it's not okay. You know, guys, I know it's really, really early to do so, but I think I do need to call this one. I have to be honest with myself, and I know exactly what I'm experiencing. It's that sense of depression, that weight, and I've experienced that weight before, and I have it today. and it's on me today. I will continue to dream of a world where we have come hold of our senses, where we've come hold of ourselves, where we've taken hold of our emotions, where we've realized that there isn't anything to fear, that building each other up is the way to build a strong and lasting society. Thanks, Radio. And that if I can't build such a society, then I refuse to participate in the one that doesn't. Always remember, guys, each and every one of you is a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel. Revolt. Repent. Good luck.